I really wanted to be a fiery, and that was actually the third year in a row that I didn't get in. I think there's something bigger for you, and that same night is when I saw Anthony next to me in the city, and then
John and Pearce. Some of you may know him as the Purple Wiggle, others from his Justice Crew days. Now he's stepped into his new role as a dad, and today we're diving into his journey from stage to fatherhood and everything in between. How did you get the job with the Wiggles?
I was actually a personal trainer at the time. After Justice Crew, I started doing a bit of PT. I actually reached out to Anthony. I was thinking, how cool would it be to train the Blue Wiggle? I remember the exact date because it's such a monumental part of my life. He sent me a message and said, hey Johnny, I've got some news. You want to catch up for coffee? One, I didn't think I was good enough. At the same time, I was like, this is an opportunity that doesn't come up every day. So I said yes.
How long did that feeling stick with you?
It kind of felt a bit like imposter syndrome. Like I didn't feel like I was becoming a Wiggle. I was dressing up as a Wiggle at the start.
Did you choose the purple skivvy or did it choose you?
He did for 1 second say, you're in yellow. And then he said, oh no, wait. Oh no, you're in purple.
You and Jessie have been quite open with your journey to baby boy. What do you think has been the most important thing for the both of you?
The best advice I could give is...
Did you know that over 85% of people who regularly watch this channel are yet to hit the subscribe button, and over 15% of those who have are yet to hit the bell notification? To make sure that you don't miss out on any new content that we drop, any new interviews or bonus content that I decide to bring out, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you're the first to know of any new content coming out. Now let's get back into today's episode.
Hey Balancers, welcome to another episode of the Balance Series podcast. Today I'm in the I Won It Yesterday studios in Sydney, Australia with a familiar face. You may know him from back in the day when he was in Justice Crew, maybe more recently as the strong John Purple Wiggle. I personally know him as my cousin-in-law, I guess.
Yeah, cousin.
It's my pleasure to introduce John and Pearce to the Balance Series. Welcome.
Thanks, Erica. I feel like we're just chatting in the backyard of one of the family get-togethers.
Yeah, it's like Christmas lunch.
Yeah, exactly. Except there's cameras and microphones everywhere.
Bit of better lighting. Yeah. No, it's really nice to finally have you on the show. I feel like from the beginning, actually, I wanted to have you on, but I'm glad it's happened at this point because there's a lot of exciting stuff happening in your life, both personally and professionally. And I feel like I'm going to be able to ask you some stuff that I haven't quite gotten to over Christmas lunches before.
You can ask me whatever.
All right, let's get into it then.
Yeah, cool.
So obviously now you have a really interesting career. You're in a very niche career as one of the newer Wiggles. But when you were younger, I mean, since I've known you, you've always been in like the performing, like kind of acting, singing space. When you were younger, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Yeah, that's a great question because I never really wanted to be a performer or a dancer or a singer. I was a shy kid. I had a twin brother, so he was my best friend. So we did a lot of sports growing up, and our go-to sport was athletics. So we were kind of to ourselves. We played a bit of footy, never did dancing, never did singing, never did anything musical. And I think it's just something that happened organically. And I believe now the power of the universe, and when things happen naturally without a barrier, I think you're on the right path. And I think I actually fell into the music scene by accident.
How was that?
Yeah. It's good now. Now that I look back, I love what I do now.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But yeah, when I was a child, it's being shy. And now I look back, it's probably a bit of anxiety and getting the attention. I probably preferred to be up the back of the class or, just in a group of friends, just amongst it and never the center of attention, never loved it. But now I do. I guess you learn to love it and when you bring joy to a lot of people, which now in the Wiggles we do, it's natural. You just got to embrace it, I think.
So what was your first interaction with kind of the dancing, performing space? Like what made you fall into it?
Actually, in 2006, so specific with the dates, 2006, I remember watching a movie called You Got Served. So it was a dance movie, breakdancing movie. Me and my brother watched it and we thought how cool the breakdancing looked in this movie. And soon after that, we copied every dance move in that movie. And we taught all our friends at school. We were in about year 9 of high school. Learned all the dance moves and taught our friends during lunch periods. And we made our dance group. And that's kind of the introduction to the performing arts.
Wow, so it was like completely self-taught.
It was organic, yeah. And we just copied it. And we thought it was cool. Look, I could do the moonwalk or I could learn this dance routine. And we kind of started there. And that's where, the performing started.
Amazing. Was that school group what eventuated to Justice Crew?
Yeah, exactly.
Really?
Right. Yeah, so our school group, we called it the athletes
Yeah.
because me and my brother, we did athletics. We were state representatives in athletics, and the other members were all state representatives in different sports. So we thought, how cool. We're like all sports stars, we thought. Let's make a dance group. We're called the athletes. And me and my brother from there competed in a competition outside of school, which we met another group called Psalms, which formed together, and that was Justice Crew. So we had Psalms and the athletes formed Justice Crew just outside of school. So that was the birth of that.
So cool. Do you think that like once you started dancing and performing, did that really like mark a shift in your confidence or like your belief in yourself? Or did it take some time after that?
Yeah, I think now that I look back, I think sports and performing, the breakdancing element of it kind of gave us that confidence that we were it made us feel comfortable. So I think that was our outlet through school. And that's kind of what we put our focus on because we did feel comfortable and confident in that. And I think now when I look back at it, we did love performing, but we just didn't like being the center of attention. It's kind of ironic in a way. I don't know how it makes sense, but
maybe it feels different when you're in a group. Like it's not just you performing.
I think so.
You know?
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So $1 million question I have is how did you get the job with the Wiggles? Because I feel like it's, there's not many of them. There's only a handful. And I assume they're not applying for like they're not putting out job ads for new Wiggles all the time. So how did you actually get the role?
It's a long story. It's actually not a long story. It's
we got
interesting.
Time. No stress.
It's a whole bunch of it's not a linear process. It didn't kind of just go, there was no audition, there was no calling card or, when me and my wife got married in 2019, we bought a place in Gladesville, which was in the same neighborhood as Anthony, who's the founder of the Wiggles. Okay, so that's the first part. Before that, I was in Justice Crew for 10 years, and we met the Wiggles through different events like the Carols and Domain, Australia Day events, and we kind of, the Arias, and we kind of, I spoke to Anthony here and there. And fast forward to 2019, we're having dinner one night at Da Toto, which is an Italian restaurant in Gladesville. And Anthony was down the road, so he kind of goes there too. So I kind of got to talking to him. After I bumped into him that night, we kind of started speaking. I kind of reached out, and I was actually a personal trainer at the time. After Justice Crew, I started doing a bit of PT. I actually reached out to Anthony. I was thinking, how cool would it be to train the Blue Wiggle? So I just reached out. Jess is saying, just send him a message. He's down the road. He could be, how cool would it be to have a client that's a Wiggle? So I reached out, sent him a message on Instagram. I said, hey, Anthony, if you ever need a training partner one day,
I'm your guy.
let me know. I'm here. I'm up the road.
I'm your guy.
Yeah, exactly. Being a Wiggle wasn't even on my mind. I wasn't even thinking,
wow,
like I want to be a performer. This is my way into the Wiggles. It wasn't that at all. I just thought, I love fitness. I love to help people. This is how cool. What a cool way to be able to help Anthony. He was already fit back in the day, and I thought, what a cool way to connect.
Yeah.
That was kind of the start of the conversations, and I think from that moment, Anthony kind of popped up everywhere. I started seeing him everywhere. And that's when I think the power of the universe kind of brings people together.
It all aligned.
On purpose. Yeah, I just remember driving somewhere in Eastwood to one of my clients, and Anthony would just be in front of me in traffic, and then I'd kind of beep the horn and be like, hey, Johnny, or whatever. And then I'd be driving in the city one night, 10 o'clock at night, coming home from dinner with Jess, and Anthony would pull up accidentally on the other side of the road, waving outside it again. So it was just a whole bunch of those moments. And I think from one of the nights, I was actually applying to be in the firefighters, to be a firey.
I think I remember this.
Yeah, so I really wanted to be a firey, and I thought, I could still do my PTing, I could still be a firey. Justice Crew slowed down a little bit, so I had time. It gave me that work-life balance. And I was actually the third year in a row that I didn't get in. Boo, I don't know why.
Was because something better was lined up for you?
Yeah, you know what? I think that night I found out I didn't get in. Jess told me, I think there's something bigger for you. Like there's something just doesn't there's a barrier here for some reason. And that same night is when I saw Anthony pull up next to me in the city with his window down and goes, hey, Johnny. And he kind of was like, he was like, oh, I'll send you a message. And it was doing this, which means filming something. So we kind of looked at each other like, what does that mean? What's he trying to say? But it was just a coincidence that night. It was like a turning point for me. It's like I kind of felt, I really want to be a firefighter next year again. But yeah, at the same time, the universe kind of kept pushing me and Anthony together. So there was something there. So that's kind of the start of it.
And then he sends you a message one day? Is that how it happens?
So it was a few weeks later, he sent me a message on Instagram and he said, "Hey, Johnny, we're working on a pilot TV series produced by the Wiggles. You came to mind and I thought, did you want to come down and check out the studios and we can chat about it?" So I said, this is awesome. Maybe that's what he was talking about with the filming. So he gave me the address. I went down to Wiggles HQ. Anthony showed me around. He showed me the offices and he said, this show, it's going to be produced by the Wiggles, but Wiggles won't be in it. Would you be keen? I said, of course. I'm always open to opportunities. I'm not going to not do it. I'm in a position to try new things as well. And Anthony's, the fan of the Wiggles. He was my childhood, so this was awesome. So we did this. We filmed the series. It kind of went quiet for a few months, and we kind of kept in contact through social media. Then there was one day, I think it was February 2021. I remember the exact date because it's such a, monumental part of my life. He sent me a message and said, "Hey, Johnny, I've got some news. I've got some news. You want to catch up for coffee?" And I thought, how cool. Like, this show's going to go ahead or whatever this is. So we go back to the pizza shop in Gladesville.
Da Toto, where it all started.
Yeah, Da Toto. He was waiting there. He had a real serious look on his face. Like, if you ever meet Anthony, he's such a vibrant guy. He's so fun. He was kind of serious and he was saying, he was scrolling on his phone. He said, "Look, can you just read through this? It's a few slides and just digest it and just let me know what you think." I said, "Okay, what is this?" I'm going through the phone. He showed me the phone. I'm going through. And then, so the slides were, the history of the Wiggles, who were the skivvies, the meaning of the skivvies, and what it means to, perform and a whole bunch of stuff like that. And I was thinking, where's this show that we worked on? Like, why am I reading this? And then it kind of went through the Wiggles being diverse and kind of expanding. And then at the last slide, there was 4 new people, and one of those people was me. I was like, hold on. I was like, what is this? And he was like, if you were to join the Wiggles as a second purple Wiggle, would you do it? And I thought, it was, for me, like, I felt a bit nervous because I didn't know what to expect. I thought, as much as a dream to become a Wiggle, I thought, one, I didn't think I was good enough. But at the same time, I was like, this is an opportunity that doesn't come up every day. So I said yes. And I went home and I was just like, he was like, "Okay, he's going to head off." So I just walked home and I was just like, what did he ask me? I kind of didn't remember what he asked me. Then I called Jess and I said, "I think he asked me to join the Wiggles." And then she was like, "What do you mean?" We didn't really process what just happened.
Yeah.
So we kind of left it for a bit and then it went quiet for a while, like a few weeks. And I was like, did he actually ask me? Then I kind of forgot what he asked me because it was kind of like so bizarre and so random. I couldn't even plan, and then he kind of reached out again and then we filmed the first episode of Fruit Salad TV and that's when I got my purple skivvy and everything happened from there.
That is so crazy, like how it all aligned. And from hearing how, I think so many people experience this where they're really set on a path. Like, for example, you being a firefighter and you think it's something you really want, it just seems for whatever reason to not be happening.
Yep.
And then you let time play out and something bigger and better or more aligned comes your way. It's so nice to hear your story. Steve Jobs has this really nice saying, you can never connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking back.
Love it, yeah.
So now when you reflect on your journey, it makes sense why these things happen.
Exactly.
And so for people listening now that are in that frustrating moment where, something that they really want is not working out, it's not coming in the time they want, it's just nice to hear stories like yours to remind us that, it happens in its own time and the way it's supposed to. You mentioned that when when he asked you, you had a bit of self-doubt, you were feeling like you weren't good enough. How long did that feeling stick with you? Like, is it something you still work through or, when you started filming, it kind of went away?
Yeah, I think because I grew up watching the Wiggles as the Wiggles, right? You got Greg, Anthony, Murray, Jeff, and they were my Wiggles. So for me, it kind of felt a bit like imposter syndrome. Like I didn't feel like I was becoming a Wiggle. I was dressing up as a Wiggle at the start. And I think after we kind of went in and started filming and working with the team and working with Anthony and the guys, and we just felt so welcomed and supported that we kind of became and grew into our characters and we just kind of felt right at home. I think with the support of everybody there, it just came natural.
I can't imagine how crazy that would be. Like, even I grew up watching them and then all of a sudden you're like performing with and next to them.
Yeah, exactly right. And, just driving on tour, with Anthony, who was my idol growing up and just, sharing the front seat and taking turns driving and having snacks, like going on road trips, and then the people you meet. It's a crazy, bizarre feeling.
That's amazing. What do you think's the most challenging part about being a wiggle?
I think if I had to say there was a challenging part, because I love what I do, I don't see it as an effort. I would just say, being away from my family or traveling.
Because you do a lot of tours, right?
Yeah, we're on the road most of the time. We're filming a lot. I would say that's the biggest challenge. And now I think moving forward, we're going to try to make, like Jess is going to be joining me on tour next year. We're expecting a baby soon. So we're going to make that lifestyle work.
Yeah.
And I think, every job has its ups and downs, but, with the Wiggles, and I definitely love what I do, and you bring so much joy to families around the world. I'm very grateful to be able to do what I do.
No, it's amazing. So your kind of tagline or character is Strong John.
Yep.
I think it's quite cool that you've been able to bring in that early passion for athletics and fitness. You were a PT for a while. Was that something you were able to organically bring into your character, or was that kind of pitched as the wiggle you were going to be?
Yeah, so how Strong John was born, we had a little meeting when the new lineup was Evie. At the beginning was Evie, Kelly, myself and Sahai. We had a Zoom call with Anthony, and he would just go around saying, what are some hobbies you like to do? Just kind of tell us a bit about yourself. And for myself, I was PTing at the time, so I love health and fitness. I was trying to be a firefighter, and that was the only thing that was on my mind at the time, because I was still figuring out what I'm doing on this Zoom call. And the great thing about the Wiggles is they bring out your personality and your true self through your character. You're not playing a character.
Yeah, that's so nice.
You're playing yourself, essentially. It's an extension of yourself. So big, strong John is a character, even though I'm not a big guy and I'm strong, a strong guy. It makes it easier when you are playing yourself, especially with children, and they can see themselves represented on TV somewhat.
Yeah, no, it's really cute. Like you see a lot of, like I see you reposting a lot of other people's content of like the little kids like pretending they're lifting weights. And I think it's really cute that it's part of the conversation. It's nice that you've been able to kind of assimilate your genuine interests and passions like into the character, not just playing a role, like you said. That probably helps with the feeling of not being as much of an imposter, right? Because you're not so much playing a character, but you're just playing yourself.
Yeah. And I think, you be yourself. And I think that's the most important thing, is to know you be authentic to yourself, and you're not really putting on an act. I think is true. If you just kind of be genuine about the whole thing, and it's a lot easier. And now I don't feel like imposter syndrome, because I've got a new label that people call me online.
What's that?
I don't like saying it.
Do you think that you being in Justice Crew kind of prepped you for Wiggles? Like, do you think there's transferable skills there that really prepared you for being, the new Purple Wiggle?
I think definitely being able to perform, and the recording aspect of it, and being signed to a label, and traveling and touring and being away from family has definitely warmed me up for the Wiggle lifestyle. And the essence of Justice Crew does appear in the Wiggle shows now, where my character does a bit of breakdancing, does a bit of bit of Justice Crew. Sometimes I'm performing Que Sera in the Wiggle shows, because Anthony does, or
at random weddings.
Random weddings like yours. But it's just one of those things where I think whatever you do, you learn lessons from, like failures or success back in the past. So I think Justice Crew did teach me a lot of lessons that I can take away, and it's kind of prepared me for what to expect with, the music industry and how it all works, and performing and meeting people, and networking, and just being grateful for where you are.
Yeah, beautiful. So being on stage, like with a live audience, versus being in a studio and looking straight down a camera, speaking to a camera, they're similar like skills, but kind of different. And you were saying to me before, like you still get a little bit of not anxiety, but like anxious feelings.
Nervous.
Yeah, you get nervous, right? Like going on camera. How do you kind of manage those emotions now? Is it getting easier for you, or is it still something you experience a lot?
Yeah, definitely still experience it. I think everyone feels some sort of nerves, no matter how experienced you are. Like I've been performing for nearly 15 years now, on and off TV and on stage, and I still think that nerves it's a good thing. It just means you want to do well, and you want to succeed. And I think once you start, it just kind of disappears, and you kind of feel comfortable. And I think it's just feeling confident, and just knowing that no one's there to judge you. Everyone's there because they love you, and they're watching you. So you should just know that, and just just be good at what you do.
Yeah. I was actually talking to Anj about this on the way to this interview. I was like, it's not that I'm nervous. It's almost just like
You were nervous.
it's not so much nervous. It's more like I just want to make sure I show up as my best self and I give my authentic energy. So I get nervous about that, not so much about sitting in an interview.
Yeah, exactly.
But I feel like it's important to talk about, right? Because a lot of people would look at you on camera or they might look at this show and be like, oh, like she's never nervous. Like if I'm feeling nervous, it might mean I'm not at that point where I'm ready.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's important to acknowledge that like you still get that even if you're confident in what you do. Like you said.
Still a normal thing.
Yeah,
you
it's
want
like
to do
you
well. Everyone
just want to
does.
perform well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just managing that and knowing once you start, it's like going to
Yeah, it just
chill
goes
out.
away, but it never does.
Yeah. I think you just get better at taking action in spite of it,
Yeah, you
right?
manage
Rather
it.
than
Yeah.
waiting for it to go away.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
100%.
This quick message is for anyone who has health and fitness goals in 2025. Now, when I in the past have set fitness goals, there are only two things that have helped me maintain consistency and actually achieve them. That is system and community. Now, you guys might recall Chantel Duncan, who was a guest on the show a couple weeks ago. She's the founder of an incredible app called Newform, which is an app not just for people to level up their physical fitness, but also their mindset and their confidence. They have a range of workouts from in-home to at the gym, which basically makes it a one-stop shop for workouts anywhere, anytime. The team at Newform and Chantel have kindly offered all our listeners a 7-day free trial. So if you're someone looking for that community or a system to really get you going and help you build that momentum for 2025, I highly recommend taking advantage of this really kind offer. You can head to the Apple Store or Google Play. I'll pop links in the show notes to both to take advantage of this free trial and make 2025 the year you achieve your health and fitness goals. Now let's get back into today's episode.
So you said before, like in what you're doing now, there's a little bit more work-life balance, or at least when you were kind of PTing, and what does that actually mean for you? Like if you have balance in your life, what does that look like?
I think it's important to say, balance work. And, with my training, I think fitness is a big aspect of my life. I'm not obsessed with the gym or trying to look good. I think it just keeps me mentally healthy.
It's just a side effect.
It's just something, it's just a byproduct of that. But, having that balance of, work and my wife and now expecting a baby and, being able to separate and make time for that. I think it's come down to priorities, I think, and just getting those priorities right. And everything can work in a way. You just got to kind of figure out what works for you and just making sure that you're happy at the end of the day. And, being on the road, it's hard to kind of keep a fitness routine, for example, and, keep in contact with all my loved ones, friends and family. But you just make time for it and comes down to priorities at the end of the day.
So when you started the Wiggles, obviously it was a lot more demanding than the kind of lifestyle you had before. What were some of the changes you had to make to your lifestyle to actually adapt to your new routine?
I stopped PTing because it was just one of those things where with the Wiggles there was a year we did 65 shows in the year.
Wow.
While filming, 2 to 3 TV series and then balancing your personal life as well. So there were things we had to miss. You had to miss important events like weddings and baptisms and things like that. At the beginning, I just kind of felt like this was too good to be true, and I didn't want to kind of get in the way of jeopardizing that in any way where I didn't want to show that I wasn't interested or I wasn't fully committed.
Yeah.
So the first year was a bit tough. And I think now knowing that everyone that we work with is so supportive and no one judges you, it's everyone's there to help with that work-life balance, and it's just speaking up at the end of the day and communicating that. And at the end of it kind of works out. I think I have a habit of catastrophizing small little things and not speaking about it.
Right.
And I think when I started kind of communicating that a bit better, it was really supported by, everyone at the Wiggles. So
can you give me an example?
Like, for example, or say now, it's like communicating, for example, so this will come out next year, right?
Yeah.
So it's like our baby is due this year in December, but we've got a tour that starts in mid-November and runs over December. But in my mind, I didn't want to bring it up that if Jess had to come early, do I need to miss shows here? And I didn't want to communicate this. I kind of just lived with it for a few months, and I was just kind of like, I need to say something, because if I don't say something now and say I miss the birth of my child because I'm in Perth or something. It was just something that I couldn't really find the confidence to speak up about. But now, and then after I sent that email, just one day I was just like, I just have to write it. Let me just write it down first. I just wrote it, and then I left it in my notes, and then I was just saying, I kind of read it over and over, and if I just send this and I just say how I'm feeling, this is something that I want to communicate, and one day I just had the urge to just go, I'm just going to send it and just see what they say. And you do get the anxiety going, what are they going to say? You can't be missing shows or that's what I thought. But the response was the total opposite. It was complete support. And now I'm glad that I did say something.
Yeah.
Because it's like a massive weight off my shoulders. So that's kind of like an example of something recently.
Yeah. I think you can never go wrong when you just openly communicate. It's kind of like if you're afraid to ask for something because you're scared someone's going to say no. The truth is you're either going to be in the same position or a better position. So you kind of have nothing to lose by just asking the question. And this is obviously like a big deal. Like what you're potentially flagging is coming up.
And now it just feels ridiculous. And when I think about it, I'm just like, oh, why was it an issue?
Yeah.
It shouldn't have been.
I think like you're not alone in that fear of, you don't want to put other people out. You don't want to come across a certain way. But like you said, when it comes down to priorities, you just have to be clear in what's important to you.
Exactly.
That's how you keep the balance, right?
Yes, exactly right.
So you have quite an unconventional career. I would say you probably can't wake up thinking I want to be a wiggle and then just like hustle to get there just because of the tight team you've got. It's, you probably didn't even know they were opening up a second layer of wiggles, right? What advice would you have for somebody listening who is interested in having an unconventional career? So you, for example, you blended a lot of different things you liked and found were passions of yours. What advice would you have for someone who is unsure of what they want to do, but have kind of a mix of interests and passions?
Okay. So I think the best advice I could give is just to be open-minded. Opportunities can come in different forms and don't put up any barriers that kind of can hinder any potential, opportunity. And I think me ending up in the Wiggles, I ended up here because of my open-mindedness. I think when things fail or things don't work, and it's just finding another door and just being open. If someone says, hey, do you want to try this? Don't just shut it down because it doesn't line up with your belief at that time. I think taking it on board and just hearing people out and trying new things, it takes you on a path. You'll be surprised where you end up because, when you do look back, you're like, okay, that's why that didn't work and I went that way. And now I'm like exactly where I want to be, because sometimes it's not clear. It's not a linear path. And sometimes you got to go through the bushes and go up around the mountain to end up at the paradise on the other side.
Yeah.
So I think just being open to opportunities.
Yeah, I think that's really nice advice. And you're right. Like sometimes when you're so fixed on a path, you just don't even see left and right. Like you're just focused on that one way. Yeah. But being open is like super important.
Yeah, and exactly right. And I think things happen for a reason, like going from Justice Group performing to be, traveling the world, being on the stage, and then kind of stopping to go back to working as a trainer. And then kind of that's how I met Anthony back through the Wiggles. So that's kind of like I didn't go from Justice Group performing, being on center stage, and then all of a sudden just jump straight over to the other ship. I kind of had to come back, reset, find another way without thinking about it.
Yeah.
I actually still want to be a firefighter, by the way.
Oh, nice. Well, if there's anyone listening that's in recruitment, let us know.
There's always time for that. But I think, dressing up as a firefighter on the Wiggly set is just as fun. So.
Yeah, 100%. No, you're right. Like we often think like growth in our path will look something like this, but often it's like you then go backwards, you go down, you go up. But ultimately you're going to end, you can't choose. Yeah. There's this great kind of like thing to think about. When you put in your GPS where you want to go, you're not worried what way the maps are taking you. You just know that it's going to take you to
just follow it.
Like Waze, right? You're like, great, it's going to take me some back roads, get me out of traffic.
Yeah.
So getting to where you want to be is kind of like the same thing.
You just trust the process.
Exactly. I mean, I'm the kind of person that I get really granular on like, oh, why am I taking a left? Why am I going on a roundabout?
Going straight,
Yeah, I thought I should go this way. But if you just trust that like where you're meant to end up is where life's taking you.
I learned that the hard way too. There was an event we were supposed to get to. This is actually talking about directions. And we were supposed to get there by a certain time and the maps was taking us off the road, but we were going to get there at the right time. But I thought, why are we going this way? Let's just go this main road. I know it's faster. And we were stuck in traffic for so long and we were late. We missed this event.
There you go. Real learn lesson
Just
of
follow,
just
trust the process.
trust ways
Exactly.
and the process.
Yeah.
So you and Jessie have been quite open with your journey to baby boy. What do you think as a couple, right? And just being together and going through that process, what do you think has been the most important thing for the both of you?
I think being on the same page. I think communicating for us. We've kind of grown into the same person. I think we've been together for nearly 12 years, maybe a bit over. At the beginning, we were completely different people. And I think we kind of evolved, and you take on board feedback from each other. Like incidentally, you're not trying to change
together.
somebody. Yeah, you kind of grow together. You learn what works, what doesn't work. And you kind of learn to communicate, and you kind of grow on the same path, and you're not really leading two different lives. You're leading the same life, just doing different things side by side. And I think that's what's kind of worked in our favor.
Yeah. What advice would you have to couples who are going through a similar journey to what you guys went through?
In regards to the baby?
Yeah. Just kind of like, I think this really plays into what we're just talking about. It's like timing, just trust the process. You really just got to trust that when things don't work out, it's meant for a later process. Like for couples experiencing kind of what you went through.
I think for us, it took a while to ask for help, like external help. And it is, if we feel a bit not ashamed or embarrassed to kind of speak about it, because especially with your first child, you kind of want to have that surprise, and you want to kind of do it on your own, and you're trying different ways, and you go, this is not working. And then I think after a few years of trying, you kind of start, you're not thinking of you giving up, or this is difficult, or should we ask for somebody, or go to see a fertility specialist, or speak to a naturopath or a doctor. And I think it took a while to kind of get that help. And I think once we did and started to figure out, what was happening inside the human body, it's a complicated area. You start to get the right advice, and you start to be able to shape and change your lifestyle, and add these little things that can kind of help you. And for us, until we went and saw, a fertility doctor that kind of analyzed Jess has polycystic ovarian syndrome, so PCOS, which makes it difficult sometimes to ovulate, and also it gives you really irregular periods. So it does make it difficult, and they say the rates of falling pregnant is really low. It's similar to endometriosis, I guess. And trying to manage that, but also life is ticking over. You're getting older, and as a female, you do have a timeline too. So we kind of have that on our mind. But reaching out, and we found it wasn't as difficult. Like, it's not like we didn't want to do IVF. We were open to whatever. We just wanted to have our own child. And once we spoke to the doctors, and they said, you can just take this tablet to start. There's little processes you can go through before you end up doing IVF, and we can kind of just go from there, because it looks like everything seems to be okay on paper through blood tests. So I think after we tried one, it was letrozole, which is a tablet that kind of induced ovulation for Jess. And we were just like, at that point, we were just going to try anything. We're just like, okay, let's just follow what they say, and let's just trust the process again. Just trusting what they say, and let's just do that. And once we did, and we kind of relaxed, and I think at that time we weren't as uptight about it. There was no pressure. We weren't thinking this has to happen this month because of this. This was just one of those things where, whatever, if it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
And literally after we did that, it was the first try, and we were pregnant.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so excited. And I think that's really nice advice. Like, we often put a lot of shame around asking for help, like not only in like this kind of scenario, but even in work, in life in general. But I really feel we're not meant to go through life alone. And if you can really build like strong support in areas where you need it, it is really important. Just like, your clients would come to you for PT, just so they don't have to go through that journey on their own.
Yeah.
I think it's important.
It does help. Yeah. You need someone to kind of bounce off, have that accountability, but also it's difficult to just keep it to yourself. You need to speak up.
So now baby's in the mix with life and everything else. How do you think that's going to change your priorities? Like, do you envision working will kind of be the same? I know you kind of said you want to take Jess and baby on the road. What about other areas of your life, like your fitness? How are you going to adapt that so it's still a priority, but obviously baby's going to take up number one spot?
This is the way I see my priority list. Fitness. No. Obviously, everything's
Barbell baby.
That's it. Bench press, and then that's it. Protein, and
Chest
then baby,
day.
and then Jess is down here. No, obviously things are going to be different. It's going to be a challenge, but then again, it just comes down to balance. And obviously, I'm going to be missing sleep. It's going to be difficult. We're very fortunate to have a bit of help. We've got our family, and we're both interested in actually being a part of this child's life. So I think having each other and working together as mummy and daddy, you can kind of relieve a bit of pressure sometimes. If you know, I'm happy to miss sleep and to give Jess a full night, and I'll put on the fake boob with the expressed milk
Get
in
it
there.
done.
You know, I'll do what I have to do to help. I think it's also working together and not putting the load on one person just because, like, you know, I don't want to put all the pressure on, say, Jess. She's the mum. She stays at home. She feeds the child, and I'm going to go and work. Like, it's about balancing and communicating that to each other because it's a difficult job. I know I haven't had first-hand experience yet, but I just know that it is a full-on job already to raise a child, to stay home, to sacrifice your body, sacrifice your time and your work. So it's also comes down to mental health too. So communicating, I think, is the best thing.
Yeah, working as a team obviously is going to be the best way. And you guys already have such a beautiful foundation in your relationship.
Oh, we'd like to think so.
Yeah, well, from the outside looking in, I definitely
awesome.
think so. So
thank you.
I think you're going to make incredible parents. I can't wait to meet baby boy.
Pipiopi.
Pipiopi.
He'll have a real name. You'll probably know by now, but when this comes out. But yeah, we've been calling him Pipiopi for now.
Is that something you came up with?
No, it's from the movie Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Oh, okay.
So it's just a funny little line in there that we've just laughed at
a
over and over. Yeah, yeah. It's just for now. While he's in utero, we call him Pipiopi. Is Pipiopi kicking today? That's
so cute. Do you think that the job you're in now, like being part of the Wiggles, do you think this is like the right role? Because it sounds like they're really supportive and you know, I've seen a few of the other Wiggles have their own kids, and it's kind of a very integrated family. I mean, it's a children's entertainment kind of business. Do you feel that that's like the right role for you to be in whilst you're also growing your family? Like, do you feel like it's going to be a really nice combo?
100%. I think it's the perfect combo. You can take your child to work and put him in the video.
Yeah.
It is supportive like that. Katarina, one of the other Wiggles, just gave birth recently to twins. So it was through a donor, and she's been currently balancing, you know, having two twins on set while recording and going in writing, and, you know, just having them. She's got a babysitter there, obviously, to kind of watch them when she's not there. But, you know, that lifestyle of making that work, and it's such a supportive environment that, you know, I'd love to bring little Pipiopi in, you know, and have that support from the work as well as.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. Speaking of kind of integrating your family in your work, I've seen you've also kind of had your mum on some of the content. Was this another case of, you know, you being able to bring through your Filipino culture into your character, or was this something that was kind of requested from the Wiggles your way?
No, I think it happened organically. So there was one day, I think we were talking about, you know, diversity and, you know, being Filipino, and, you know, I'm kind of representing the Philippines a bit, right? I'm Australian Filipino. But not many people look at me and go, Filipino. So it's
Filipino.
Yeah, exactly, or Filipino. So I think that was something that I wanted to kind of communicate through my character, and to say, you know, I am Filipino, and there are half-caste Filipinos out there that I'm sure I've been tagged in lots of videos where, you know, the kids will look at me and think that's their parents, or, you know, they can really relate to me. But I just wanted to showcase my culture through my character, as well as, you know, through my own social media. And my mum has always been there to support my sporting growing up. She doesn't ask for much. She's very quiet, very shy. She doesn't like the center of attention, but I definitely brought her to the world stage. Yeah. So the first few videos, you know, I just kind of kept it organic, and I'm just almost making fun of her accent, which we all love to do. Filipinos love to have a laugh, and it's just all in lighthearted fun.
So did it start on your socials and then go to the show?
Yeah, literally. So I did a few videos. I think the first video I was talking about the fridge. She calls the fridge the Frigidaire. Yeah. With a P, Frigidaire. And I didn't realize that a lot of Filipinos, of people that grew up with Filipino parents, had the same reference. Their parents would call it a Frigidaire. But we thought that it was
your mom's unique.
A made up word. But we found out that it's a brand. It's not a Filipino. It's a brand of fridge that they all call a Frigidaire, almost like what you'd call, like, you know, a texter, you'd call it a Sharpie or something like that. They just called it all Frigidaires. So it started off with that and talking about the footpath and whatever. And it kind of went a bit viral. Like, we got a lot of feedback, people relating to it with their own parents. And from that, it kind of opened up the idea of doing Filipino nursery rhymes at the Wiggles.
So cool.
So it kind of just one thing led to another. And then, we recorded a Filipino nursery rhyme called Bahay Kubo, which is a big folk traditional Filipino song. They learn it in schools in the Philippines. And my mum used to sing it to us as children. And so we brought her in and she featured in the video. I recorded it. And now we've got, a little bit of Filipino culture in the Wiggles.
No, that's so cool. Like you've integrated fitness, your culture, your personality is like really shining through in the character, which is really nice to see kind of this. I mean, I don't really remember the original four. No, like whether they really had their own personalities shine through or whether they just were playing a character, not knowing them well.
Yeah. Like, for example, Jeff, he was the original Purple Wiggle, fell asleep all the time.
Yeah.
I'm sure he wasn't falling asleep
in real
outside,
life.
but it's a funny thing to see for children's TV, and it was such a memorable time. Like we all know it as Wake Up Jeff.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he wasn't narcoleptic because he wasn't a sleepy guy.
Yeah. But it's nice to see you be able to do
Yeah.
that. Did you choose the purple skivvy or did it choose you, for lack of a better word?
No, I think it was given to me. I didn't get to choose. When I sat down with Anthony, he did for 1 second say, "You're in yellow," and then he said, "Oh no, wait. Oh no, you're in purple."
I think purple's your
so that
color.
allocated. Yeah, so I feel like purple's a great color. I actually love the color purple.
Great.
Growing up, my first number plates were purple when I finished school. It was
You
just kind of
manifested
an
it.
accident. So I think when I look back, it's like that's why I liked purple.
Yeah.
The universe was giving me
The
clues.
dots were taking you there.
It was giving me clues.
That's awesome. So now you're in the Wiggles. What's kind of on the cards for you? Like, where do you go to from here? Do you grow with the Wiggles corporation and continue taking it forward? Do you see yourself, I know you mentioned potentially firefighting in the future. What's kind of in the plans in your dream world?
In my future, I think learning from experience, I have no idea what the future holds. All I know is that I love what I do today and I love what I do tomorrow. And I think being with the Wiggles is going to open up a whole bunch of opportunities that, I'm happy to go for and grow with the Wiggles as a company. And, just bring more joy to families around the world. And I don't see anytime soon me not liking that or not getting fulfillment from my job. And I think as long as that's still there and everything's smooth, like sailing smoothly, I think I'll be here for a long time.
Yeah. Well, knowing you personally, honestly, I think you're perfect for the role. And I don't even know what.
It's my head shape.
No, like you're just your personality. You're so kind and you're so funny and you're really like
thank you.
spirited. Like I think you're actually in the perfect role.
Oh.
And so I'm excited to see where it's going to take you. And it's crazy to think that we grew up knowing Anthony, Jeff, you're going to be that for so many kids when they grow up.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
So it's amazing.
It is bizarre to think that, you'll have such a you'll be a part of a memorable time for these when they look
You're
back.
part of people's childhood.
Be nostalgic for them. They'll look at me and say, "Big strong John, what happened to all your muscles?" Now I've got to stay big and strong forever.
That's it. It's good motivation if you ever needed it.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Well, thank you so much, John. It was so nice to chat to you on the show officially and finally. It's nice to get to know you a bit more. And thank you for your time. I really appreciate you sharing your journey today.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Great.
Thank you.